Welcome back. Let's now talk about the big focus story at this hour. Well, an ambulance, viewers, is an emergency service that at all circumstances need to get the right of way. But what happened today in Bangalore could actually jeopardize someone's life. And we are showing you on your screens there the ambulance that had to be stalled for over an hour. It was carrying a patient needing urgent medical attention. It was diverted multiple times because of the political protests that were being held over Rahul Gandhi's ED summons. The vehicle was stuck, like I said, for an hour in traffic because of the protests that were taking place right in the middle of the city, in one of the busy and critical junctures. And that's not the only inconvenience we are talking about. Thousands of commuters were impacted simply because the wrong choice of protest site. There's nothing wrong, viewers, with a democratic protest, but there should be some method in the madness. It cannot be held in a critical juncture in a city like Bangalore that is already grappling with traffic snarls. So Karnataka Congress protests against the BJP government over the ED notice to Sonia and Rahul Gandhi turned into a major nightmare for motorists. We are not concerned which party was doing this or what cause. They have, by all means, have the democratic right to do so. The concern is around the insensitivity towards the common man and the hindrances caused to the common man. The concern is emergency services getting disrupted. And this absolutely reckless attitude of taking the time and convenience of the public for granted is not acceptable. As for where and why this chaos unfolded, let me go across to my colleague Deepak Bopanna, who brought us those pictures and those visuals. He was reporting extensively from the ground throughout the protest. Deepak, good evening. Over to you to tell our viewers why we are highlighting this story today with the inconvenience that was caused to Bangaloreans earlier today. Over to you.
Good evening, Afrida. Firstly, of course, we should bring to the notice of our viewers that it was the Karnataka High Court in the month of March that clearly stated and told the government even that do not give permission for any sort of protests or rallies or agitations within the city which causes traffic snarls, which affects the citizens. This was something that happened especially during the time where several rallies were taking place, even while COVID rules were being flouted. Now, while that was in place today, while I spoke to several, officers, they said that officially no permission was given to even march to the ED's office. Now, the question is, just because the ED's office is in a complex which houses, the BMTC bus depot, the KSRTC bus depot as well, and the protest site was at the Lal Bagh gate, which is just about 200 to 300 meters from there. Now, the question is, first of all, why did the police who say that officially no permission was allotted, why did they allow for a congregation of over 1,000 people? Now, while the permission, was not given is what they officially claim, 10 o'clock was when the Congress decided to carry out this particular protest. Now, 10 o'clock, of course, is peak hour in Bangalore. This particular area itself witnesses a lot of traffic during that particular time. Now, while 10 o'clock was allotted as the time that the Congress would march towards the ED's office, the senior leaders arrived only at about 11. Now, we should understand that this is election year. Each of the leaders, of course, wanted to make a point. There was not one single leader who spoke and they decided to march. It was one leader after the other who reiterated the same thing, what the other leader said. Until 1 o'clock, the speeches continued while the traffic was blocked in all four directions leading up to Lal Bagh. And this would mean that vehicles coming in from the central business district, vehicles coming in from South Bengaluru, all of this, of course, was choked up and they were being diverted to different areas. We, of course, landed up seeing one of the ambulances that was stuck. You could only imagine, while within the entire city around that area, if there was a jam running up to kilometers,
see,
how many people...
Deepak, the visuals that you're bringing us are so graphic. I can see a patient, in fact, lying inside that ambulance. She needs emergency medical attention. We cannot compromise with such cases, with lives of people for the sake of a political protest. Deepak, thanks very much for joining us. So, Neta's protests have become the citizens' nightmare. That is what my colleague Deepak was saying. This is a major juncture usurped by the Netas. Public convenience goes for a toss. To talk about this issue and how we can resolve these situations, what can we do to wake up our Netas that this is not acceptable? Let me welcome Shailesh Sinha, CEO, the Traffic People Foundation, and Bhavna Ramanna, actor and producer. Let me go across to you first, Bhavna ji, as a representative of the citizenry. What do you feel when you see this? Can you describe to us what kind of a situation a normal commuter can be stuck in when he's crossing this particular juncture close to the ED office in Bengaluru and he finds himself in the middle of this complete blockade because the traffic came to a standstill that can impact one's schedule. But tell me from your personal experience as a Bangalorean, what could be the worst case scenario?
To start with, growing up, having been grown up in Bangalore city from my childhood days, where we used to always see wide open roads and bordered with all the gulmohar trees and colorful flowers blown in the trees, But now I think after 2000, when they really announced Bangalore as a mega city or a metro city, we wouldn't really understand at kids what it means to be a metro city or a mega city. But then now we really understand what it really meant to be one. But then the kind of immigrants we had falling into our city, much before it became a metro city, was much more the number what they actually thought of. So infrastructure-wise, I think we really leave behind. And then the roads and the connectivity, because not to forget, the city was made and created by the Britishers, just the way it is in London. So we never have these broad roads and things, so that it is not America. It is not meant to be like America, and not city to be made as America. It was structured by the British people. So we have the monumental structures, which is very British oriented. That's why it's very cosmopolitan. It's very colonial. But now suddenly things changed, and then we really wanted to be somebody like Singapore. We just wanted to be somebody like other nation. And as per the time grows, as the Silicon Valley started growing up, I think things started becoming more and more chaotic. And as a citizen of the city, it doesn't make me any happy to see an ambulance to be struck in between.
Yes, I'm afraid there is some disturbance with your audio, Bhavnaji, but I get the sense of what you're saying about how painful it is for you growing up in Bengaluru to see this. Shailesh Sinha, if I can come to you on this, the Netas will say democratic protest is every citizen's right and little inconvenience is no big deal, given the enormity of the cause. But the point is, given the number of parties we have and the number of causes that there are, where protests can erupt, there will be no end to this. What is your solution for a problem of this nature, where the Netas take liberty to block a critical juncture? Do you feel this is a failure of governance? Do you think the police is responsible, or would you blame the party concerned?
Practically, the scenario is that there are so many
Okay, I'm afraid we've lost Shailesh. Bhavnaji, if you can hear me, there was a bit of a disturbance in your audio. You were describing, yes, I think, yes, let's see if it's better now. What I wanted to ask you also is that, when you see this kind of insensitivity, as a citizen, do you hold the elected government responsible for this? After all, this is not asking for the moon. The citizen is just asking for a peaceful commute. If that is taken away, if that piece is robbed off, how does it feel? The chronic insensitivity, like I said, towards the woes of the common man.
This is not a one-day situation. This is day-to-day situation. It's irrespective of any such programs held by any other government. It's nothing to do with these hartal or people becoming together in a big group. It's not about it. But it's just the traffic is so bad in Bangalore city. There is no solution to it. Unless, for us, Bangaloreans, it's about anyway to go from one place to another. We just 1 hour, 1.5 hour drive. It's a very cool thing for us.
Yes.
We never think it's so far away. But as you said, a couple of years ago, I don't know, should I be saying this or not? The Lawyers Association held a protest for a couple of hours. It was a protest held for more than 7 hours. And then the children were stuck on the ground, on the street. The school children were struck badly. Even the women who go for jobs, they were struck so badly. So was the ambulance. So it is something that we really have to come up with a solution where probably we do have a good ring road facilities, which is outside the city and things like that. Probably they should plan of these things probably outside the city and outskirts, and then where the ring road facility is much more in a better.
The point of the matter is there are dedicated spaces for public protest. There are always these protest grounds in every city which can be used effectively. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, in order to do the posturing, in order to make their point, they make citizens suffer. which is unfair. Let's listen into the citizen voices. To be fair, let's listen into what Bangaloreans have to say.
Have you been traveling? Has this jam caused any inconvenience to you?
To us, yes. It's causing inconvenience, yes.
Where all were you diverted?
Sir, I was diverted from Jainagar and I had to come from Racecourse Road.
Okay.
So I'm diverted almost 2 hours now.
And you're delayed for work?
The family court.
You have to go to court and you've been delayed.
Yeah, I'd been delayed. Now I'm coming out.
Traffic jam ಇತ್ತಾ ನೀವು ಬರೋ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು
ಫುಲ್ ಜಾಮ್ ಇದೆ 1 hour ಆಯ್ತು ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಟೈಮಿಗೆ ಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ
Protest is definitely our right. We have a right to protest, but it doesn't mean you stop an ambulance and it can cost somebody's life. So that is not correct. I definitely don't support that.
It's absolutely wrong. If there is a protest or something, you should show courtesy to the ambulance so that it can move on. Someone, somebody's life could be saved if these kind of things are avoided. So I think that it was absolutely unnecessary because of the protest that the ambulance had to be stopped.
Anybody stopping the ambulance, because people's going to emergency is very important. It should not be for anybody. The ambulance should be stopped. As simple as that. So I think everybody should understand the importance of people having issues or health issues. As simple as that.
Shailesh Sinha, I'm sorry I had to interrupt you because of some disturbance. Please go ahead. I was asking you about who you should hold responsible for this.
It's all about timing. See, Bangalore is a city which is practically the startup city. I'm really surprised why the people with such bright minds are doing things like this, right? So the point is that we need to just be very, very focused towards these kind of emergency services. Number one, an ambulance driver alone does not save the life of a person, right? He needs support of everyone on the road. The traffic police needs to be, well in advance in the system, that there should be proper coordination, that if some event is happening, certain emergency vehicles should, and obviously there would be some reason for those vehicles to be there on the road. So there has to be some kind of coordination. Plus, why I'm saying these things, that these protests also disrespect. Number one. Number two is this also, that these traffic police and these ambulances, they need to have the camera ready. If somebody is, stopping or blocking the way of any ambulance, they should be challaned, because as per 2019 Motor Vehicle Act, 10,000 rupees a challan if somebody blocks the ambulance way. But yes, the police, the administration, these political parties, every party needs to come in cohesive unit, that the people, commuter, society, system should not be suffering because of some demonstration, some event, because practically a normal man doesn't directly connect with such events. This is only a political thing pertaining to some particular party, particular phase, but a common man suffers, and in this case, an ambulance is stuck. This is very, horrific scene for me to see also, as you said, that there's a lady in the van who is asking for, or who is looking for some kind of support. And I was also reading an article in New York Times, 2013 August, I guess. There was a story specially about Bangalore city of an ambulance, the story of an ambulance driver, that how are the things, what is he's facing in terms of commuting while taking serious patients to the hospital. So it is practically from one point to another point, and road is the only way. So administration, political parties, and those many bodies which are practically responsible should be taking some kind of responsibility towards safe movement of ambulance at least.
Take your point. You're saying there should be some forward planning. There should be coordination among departments, whatever it takes, to make sure that a citizen is not inconvenienced. That's the big takeaway from this conversation. Thank you so much, Shailesh Sinha and Bhavna ji, for joining us this evening with your informed opinion.